People get so tuned in to just catching fish, and that's not what the sport is about. Ultimately, yeah, we all want to catch fish, but there's more to it than just putting a fish on the end of the line. One of the things that's getting missed in the sport is the rich history that fly fishing has.
I learned a lot about fly fishing by going to some of the local shows in my area. You know, you can travel all over the world and fish for everything there is, but if you don't take the time to learn about some of the history of the sport, I don't think that you'll ever be the best angler that you can be. Even guys like Lefty, who've been all over the place and done everything, had to start somewhere.
1947, I went fishing with Joe Brooks, and who was a famous writer at the time, and who later became my mentor. I didn't know anybody that fly cast in central Maryland at that time, went on the Potomac River, and he caught almost as many fish on my water, smallmouth, as I did. You know, hardly ever does anybody catch more fish than the best local fisherman, which at the time I was supposed to be, but I was using plug tackle. And what happened was there was a migrating ant hatch that was trying to fly across the Potomac, which is like 250 yards wide, and millions of them were falling in the water. And a ring appeared, and Joe went, dropped it in, hooked the fish. Another ring, dropped it in. He did this about 8 times. I said to myself, I got to have some of this. Because I'm so old, I remember when men wore tattoos and women wore the earrings, so I've been around a while.
Man, what do you say about somebody like that? Who went there before you did, caught a bigger fish than you did, definitely cast better to get that bigger fish than you'll ever catch, and then wrote about it and got you excited about it from the time you were a kid. I mean, Lefty should go to bed every night with a big fat grin on his face, that there's thousands of people out there who enjoy this sport and maybe even got started in this sport, or probably got started in this sport because they picked up a magazine or picked up a book by a guy by the name of Lefty Cray.
There is not 2 Lefty Crays in this world. I don't know if that's grammatically correct. There's only one Lefty Cray, and I mean, he's been the ambassador to fly fishing worldwide. There'll probably never be anyone else who is as complete as Lefty as far as recognition and accomplishments. Lefty's maintained a stature and status in the business and in the sport that's never going to be duplicated.
When you go to these sportsman shows, not only can you learn a lot about the history of fly fishing, but you meet all kinds of cool people that are out there doing stuff right now. Not only is Brian O'Keefe considered one of the best casters on this planet, but the guy's been everywhere. He's fished for just about everything. These days, Brian's got a pretty cool gig with his photography and endorsements and presentations. But even Brian had to start somewhere.
I got into fly fishing like a lot of people. It was through my grandfather, who is a bamboo rod, Missoula, Montana dry fly purist, and he learned fly fishing actually in England, English style, all rising fish, no wading, very technical, real gentleman sport. And then my brother and I came along, just a couple 2-foot tall animals, and we just went nuts. Fly fishing, we knew it was a family tradition. We got into it, but he only allowed us to just cast for the first couple of years when we were 8, 9, 10 years old. We just got out on the lawn, whipped the dandelions off, and 3 years or so after that, he let us fish with Joe's hoppers on the Blackfoot River, and we'd set up a camp for 10 days, and I was a goner. I was so excited. My first rainbow trout of my life on a dry fly, I hit it really hard with my grandmother's bamboo rod, silk line, and that rainbow just went flinging up behind me into the bushes, and I was like, yes, I've caught a fish. I couldn't find it. But, and then ever since then, just loved prowling around with other fishermen, discovering spots, going to famous traditional waters, and I just like the whole culture of fly fishing, the people in it. You don't have to know them forever to kind of develop a friendship. They fly fish, they're nice, they'll have a beer. Hey, lifelong friend, that sort of thing.
Brian is one of those mavericks. Brian's the kind of guy that inspires me in a different way than Lefty inspires me. I remember the first time I met him, I thought, man, here is a wild man. Here's a guy who's done it and did it his own way. And that's an inspiration. I think Brian brought a real rebel pioneering heart into the sport and made people think, you know, hey, I can go somewhere really out of bounds. I can go somewhere that they haven't written about in a fly fishing magazine yet. And that's a huge inspiration to people too. And Brian's images have always been, for me, one of the core visual aspects of our sport.
I love fishing photography, so that's my companion hobby to fly fishing, recreation, sport, hobby, religion, lifestyle. And I think the two go hand in hand. They document where you go, what you did. It's a good way to reference and record, experiences.
If you learn a little bit more about the history of the sport, I think you'll have a real appreciation for what people like myself and Brian and Lefty and Justin and Rachel, all of us are driven by different factors. But I think you'll find that universally we're all driven by the love of casting a fly to a fish that's feeding, whether it's a tarpon in saltwater, a peacock bass in the Amazon, or a trout on your local stream at home.
Yeah, it's people, culture, interesting places, weather, and of course, fish.